So I get a lot of comments from people, whether they are negative or basically saying, don't believe in dowsing rods. These are evil spirits. I wrote down a couple comments that I get pretty regularly, and I'm going to read them to you. And I'm going to talk about what this means basically in the context of comparing what I do as far as like work. And if I were to come into your workplace and talk to you about what you do for work, okay? So bear with me for a second. Okay, so the first one is do not believe in rods. There's a lot of spirits everywhere, evil and good, that you may not know. Another person said, why do people believe whatever these spirits are telling them? Sometimes they like to mess with you for fun. I get comments like this all the time. And I don't blame people for being skeptical, especially about something that they don't understand. But instead of coming into somebody's comments and saying something like this, I think it would be more beneficial to ask questions. However, I also understand that people that are against dowsing rods are not going to be inclined to do that. Okay, I relate this when I read that. It feels to me, my feelings when I read that, it's like if I were to come into your workplace and being like, why are you doing that? How can you believe what you're doing? Maybe you're making an Excel spreadsheet and you know how to plug numbers in and make formulas and blah, blah, blah. And you know that if you plug numbers in here, it's going to get you this result. And I come in and I criticize you saying, you can't believe doing that is actually going to be accurate when I have no experience doing what you're doing. But you know what you're doing is going to get you good results and it's going to be accurate because you know what you're doing and you've repeated it enough times and you know what it feels like, you know the right steps, you know if you take a bad step, you know how to correct it, you know how to start over if you need to. That's just kind of like a good analogy, I guess. I don't know if that helps kind of put it into perspective for people. I use dowsing rods almost every single day. I know what they feel like. I know the energy, what the energy feels like when I'm using them enough to know when it feels off. I know when it feels off. I know when to start over. I know when to not trust what they're saying because of the way that it feels. Now, I'm not out here saying that you should believe in dowsing rods and believe that they are factual. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is dowsing rods read energy. Energy is real. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt because energy is always changing. Everybody has free will. Everybody makes their own choices. Well, I could wake up tomorrow and decide to do something totally new, totally different, something I've never done before. And so could every other single person on the planet. And that would shift the entire energy of literally everything. When you're reading energy, you have to keep in mind that, especially for like future predictions, right? It can and does change. People that use dowsing rods properly and they know how to use them and they practice using them, they are more knowledgeable about it than the average viewer watching a TikTok video. So again, I don't blame people for being skeptical. I don't blame people for not being knowledgeable about them. The average person isn't going to know how they work, why they work, etc. I'm happy to always answer questions about stuff like that. There's not going to be any sort of beneficial communication or conversation when people come in and they just shut you down and they're like, oh, like, you're the devil, you're the Antichrist. So that's just my thoughts about that.